So I'm introducing to you about the data supply services which are being carried out in IMD, especially at the Office of Climate Research and Services, which is located at the Meteorological Department, Shimla office, Pune. So all these services are being carried out at the National Data Center. And at this National Data Center, we have the three entities, that is data reception. We receive the data from all over the country, from the observatories. Then the processing and archival, that is about the quality check. And then we archive the data and then we retrieve as per the demand, and it's being supplied to the users. So all these activities are being carried out at NDC. So it has started in 1977, and as we all know, these observations are taken at the different observatories. IMD has about more 200 departmental observatories and about more than 500 part-time observatories. So these observatories record the weather conditions. That is that they are taking surface observations of the different meteorological parameters like temperature, pressure, humidity, wind, rainfall, and cloud conditions, sky conditions, past weather. So all these are observations are recorded at different synoptic hours. That is the time specified at 3 GMT, 6 GMT, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 21 UTCs or GMTs. And at these specified times, the observations are taken and being are exchanged globally. So as soon as the observations are taken, they are being sent to the respective regional centers. We have 6 regional centers in IMD, and these regional centers, they collect the data, they check the data for their scrutiny for the basic errors, or if everything is all right, then it is being sent, keyed and sent to and National Data Center for permanent archival. Here also we at National Data Center, the quality process, the data undergoes quality process, and then it is being uh, made available for the supply to the users. So there are various users of data, and then with this data, it is being used in various sectors like health sectors, and thermal sectors, other services, and all constructions. So, and in most of the departments, we need the importance of this hydrological data, and this data is being shared for the different users. In order to, so this data is being archived. Earlier it was in the national data center. Earlier it was in the electronic old servers platforms that access Teams and the PCs, and then archives in the tape library, CD-ROMs, all that. But now with the modernization of the ITs, this entire thing has been automated, and accordingly, so for automation and the digitization of this meteorological data, we have introduced in 2019 MMR online. So observations which are recorded are recorded in the form of MMR. So we will be discussing one by one topic separately. Then there is a centralized data entry system. This is started in 2019 itself, and then data supply portal which started in January 2019, and it is still the most important component for the supply of data. And then in 2021, that is somewhere in the March, in the first quarter, we will be launching the climate data service portal, in which all climatological information will be available to all these users and the general public for this one. There are few projects we are also handling that will be discussing on this about the data rescues WMOs project, and then the digitization of autographic charts. The observations which we are observers and the observatories are taking in this the different type of observations like surface observations, upper air observations, that includes pilot balloon observations where the balloons are released and the instruments are sent along with that, so that we get the information about the vertical profile of the atmosphere. Then radio sonde, radio wind, And then there are radiation instruments like which records the global radiation, diffuse, biometallic, terrestrial, net radiation, all that. Then there are agromet observatories, and then autographic. There are some stations equipped with the autographic instruments. That is, autographic means it records the continuous record. We get the continuous record of the pressure, temperature, humidity, wind, and rainfall and sunshine throughout the day. So all these data, different data of about 80 different types of observations are being uh, processed at the National Data Center. So this data acquisition system from different type of observatory from different locations spread across the country, they are being sent to data processing unit here at National Data Center. There and it undergoes the archival, and then the component of the supply is also included in this data center. At present, right from the beginning, we can say that all the meteorological data since the first observatory it started in 1875, the data is being archived here, and we have the surface data of about 41.2 millions records. Rainfall has about 14.24 millions records. These figures are of just few months back. And then there we have the upper air, autographic, marine, agromet, radiation, ozone observations, and there are few expeditions uh, in the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. So that data is also being archived at this center. Let's go into some details of the data reception or the data acquisition, how this data comes to this one. So after taking the observations, they are being keyed. We have this. We had earlier this specific software for that, and that software was quite old, developed in 1980 by CDEC, and then with this software, the data is being keyed into particular format and being sent and was sent by email to National Data Center. So from all observatory, from all regional centers, and then this process was quite slow because of the manpower was also required for keying the data, and there was a delayed mode because the observations are at the remote place, the regional centers are at the specific locations, then like Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, and Calcutta, and Nagpur, and Guwahati. So there the data used to reach first, and then from there it used to come to NDC. So there was sometimes the lag of few months, and it was extending up to the few years also. To remove this lag, we have introduced the MMR online system. So that we started in 2019. The in-house web-based development was completed in 2019, where the whatever the observations the observatory is taking, they are entering into this form, and then this data on real time directly at the observatories. And as soon as the data is submitted, it is being received at the NDC end. Second thing is that after taking the observations, it is the um, these observations are recorded in a sheet which we call it as a MMR sheet. Actually, it was a book of a complete month, so that's why it's a monthly meteorological register, which includes the data for the complete month. Now, this MMR sheet records all the observations, and then it is then coded in the form of SYNOP. SYNOP is the message code which is used for the global exchange of data. So in this coded form, it is being disseminated all over the world by the telecommunication sector, and this SYNOP codes are also automatically generated in as soon as the entry is made into MMR. Similarly, as the data is entered into MMR, the data is being converted into the National Data Center format, and so that at the end of month we receive the data at NDC immediately without any further delay. There are checking about the records. Sometimes the temperature crosses higher than the ever recorded values, or sometimes we get the rainfall which has been never been experienced in the particular month or year. So these checking of the records is also done online on the system, and that is a very, very important aspect of to keep this information is required to the forecasters as well as the all the users that how the weather is going on in this country. Similarly, like if we say that today we see the abnormal higher range of temperatures in the month of March. So whether the March the temperature are will be higher, or it is at the normal conditions, how the weather is going on. So that is being identified from this MMR online directly. Then these MMR onlines are also needs to be preserved forever in a hard copy format. So we convert it into PDF format, and then in the printable format. That means the all digital as well as physical format, the conversion is quite easy. Uh, and then we can plot the current trend and the time series, the similarly right from the January onwards, how the season is going on, or during the entire monsoon periods, how is the variation of the rainfall. So all these time series plots can also be plotted on this MMR online. Because we are getting the data immediately, we are this data is also available for the supply in the within a month. So these are the some web-based forms which are in which for the data is entered, and there are global WMO standards, weather symbols also. These are also entered in this system. And this is the copy of the meteorological sheet I wanted to share with you. So this is now the digital. Earlier it is used to be written in hand by the observers. Now the observers are filling the data, and then they get the printable and the editable PDF format of this document, which you can see that there are the parameters of the pressure, temperature, humidity, wind, and then there are clouds, then rainfall, evaporation, then durations, and then how is this complete weather throughout the day, that is being recorded in this single page of MMR, that is the meteorological register. The figure bottom, it shows the synop messages. So instantly we get all the synop messages being uh, share messages ready for dissemination globally. And it has saved the considerable time to, all of the observers, and the error-free messages are being disseminated throughout the world. Just we need to exchange into the telecommunication channel. Similarly, at the we get the plot also of the, say, the temperatures, how this when we see the graphical on the India map, we can see identify how this weather is going on in the country. So this is very good tool for the forecasters to get the real-time information of the entire country, so that it assists in for assist them for forecasting for the next for the future, for the next say next day, or for the next few hours. So with this MMR, we get the receive the data of on real time. So from first January 2019 onwards, we are getting all data in MMR from all the observatories. There are some data which are still with the regional centers or with the observatories, and it has not reached to the national data center. So these data punching is also going on in the regional centers in the data 9 format. So data 9 system, but data 9 system is obsolete now, and it has outlived its life now. So so with the development of the new systems, this software is not working properly. So for this, the and central data entry system has been created at NDC for in which all type of data is being received. Old data, that is the past data prior to 1st January 2019, the data instead of keying at the server location, their own location, and then copying in and sending by email, we have stopped all this business, and then directly web-based entry, and then it is being received and archived at the servers in the national data center. With this software, there are first level quality checks which are also incorporated, and there are that is the date missing or some particular column missing. So all these errors are eliminated. It has also reduced the intercommunication between national data center and the offices, and that's why the archival process has gained the speed. So there are different facilities that how much data has been sent and how much data is still lagging. So all these entire activities reports are available on the same system. This one, because I'm not talking only about the surface observation. There are pilot balloon observations, there are aviation observations, there are observations of the radiations. So all these observations are needs to come to national data center, because at their different station there are different sections or the units. Surface station section is handling the surface observations, whereas the upper air section, say RSRW section, is managing the data of the RSRW. There are agromet sections, there are radiation units. So all these units, they are supposed to send the data here at the common platform. So that's why it has to be integrated, and that's why we call it as a centralized integrated data entry system, that is CDES. This is some kind of platform which is available for the data entry to the observers or observatories as well as the regional centers. They can all different types of observations, and this is the this will continue further also. Then there are few parameters still to be added, because there's a lot of parameters which we need to archive on real time. After receiving the data, we go into the data processing part. Data processing is nothing but the we process the data for the checks, that is the quality checks. So because of the huge holding of data we have collected over the last 125 years, and this data consists of the surface, upper air, radiation, rainfall, agrometeorological, etc. The data is of the importance and is for the climatical study research purpose everywhere. This data is being used, and then we always need the previous records also for analysis of the weather conditions and the climate change. So after reception of the data at the observatory, it is sent to MDC for keying, primary scrutiny of errors, and then to NDC for NDC in Pune for further processing. Few quality checks are maintained at the observatory levels, that they, as per the WMO standards, the observations are to be taken with the basic standards, like the uh, site conditions, the exposure conditions, the maintenance of the instruments, the location of the instruments, the height and everything. All these are the fundamental standards with which the IMD is maintaining the observatories, and the observations are taken with the proper care and the caution, so that the accurately the weather conditions are being reported. So this quality the processes are also on the taken at the specified of the user or UTC times or the GMT times. We can say that all over the countries that the particular UTC time, then these common charts are being plotted so that the weather conditions are reported at this similar same time at all over the world. So there are the guidelines which are being followed. Guidelines are specified by the World Meteorological Organization, uh, and then the data are also subjected to the various checks, that is the validity, duplicate fields, absurd values. Sometimes there are human errors also, sometimes instrumental errors also, which may give the erroneous values, and these erroneous values needs to be filtered out before the data is being archived. So it also goes into the different types of checks and at the NDC. There are syntax checks, duplicate checks, gross limit outliners, internal consistency that we comes under the level one of quality control, and then level 2 is time consistency and the spatial consistency. So there are different mechanisms, just one shown here, but syntax checks should be done as per the WMF format. There should not be any, that means that something like that the temperature is to be represented in a single decimal, and then we cannot shift the columns, that error is to be removed. Even that it's suppose the temperature is 32.0, is should not be represented as just 32. Then there are duplicate dates for the same date. Sometimes the date entry, same date entry is being repeated, and that is to be filtered out or removed or maybe corrected. So all these checks are being carried out because of the different software, because some softwares earlier were not having that capabilities, but now this MMR or CDS, they have the capabilities to remove this duplicate checks right at the data entry level itself. Then there are gross out limit outliners. That means this some temperatures cannot exceed the ever sometimes the hallows in the Indian subcontinent, the temperatures, the daily temperatures cannot exceed the 55 degrees centigrade. It cannot be higher than that, or the lowest is the minimum minus 40 degrees centigrade. So that's a particular range of the temperature. Now, this range of temperatures at all over the, in general, cannot exceed in atmospheric condition. This so suppose we cannot have the temperatures or the pressures also less than 800 or 850 levels, or it cannot be more than the 1020-30. So there are some specific atmospheric conditions which do not cross their extremes. Then there are station specific, like we can say in the North India or the Himalayan countries, the temperature doesn't exist much, or in the region of central India, we cannot have the snow conditions. Similarly, in the southern latitudes, also the temperatures are higher than the mm, so different players, North Indian stations. So in the southern latitudes, the temperatures will be higher than other latitudes. The temperatures are can vary much from the high to low. There are the daily variation is also higher. So there are station specific different. So coastal stations have different climate. Island stations have different climate, inland stations and the hill stations. So every station has a different physiography. So as per their physical conditions and the geographical conditions, the temperatures have their constraints. So these are being also checked at MDC so that the accurate data is being archived. Then there are station limit outliners, and then the internal consistency. All meteorological parameters should propose to measure the same weather conditions. So we cannot have the like for example, the temperature, rainfall being reported, but there are no clouds reported. So this type of sometimes the error occurs, and then we need to remove all these errors. Similarly, there are means and the time consistency. That means normally we find that the temperatures in winter are lower, wind temperatures in summer are higher. So deviations from the climatological means are not so common. We call it as extremes. So normally the conditions are being maintained, and these normal conditions, deviations from these normal conditions, we sometimes say that it cannot be larger than the specified. So in within a day, the temperatures cannot exceed or the 8 to 10 degrees, something like that. And the division from the previous value, the yesterday, today's temperature and the yesterday's temperature, day-to-day variations, monthly variations, annual variations, and change deviations from the climatological means. All these checks are being carried out at NDC. So there are checks for the hourly variations also, within 1 hour, within 2 hour, 3 hour. How much should be the variations, and the maximum? Say within an hour, temperature pressures do not change normally more than 3 hectopascals. Within 12 hours, 36 hectopascals. So there are limits to that. Similarly, for the temperatures also, temperature, dew point, humidity, rainfall amount. and all these checks are being carried out at NDC, and before the data is being supplied, the data is being archived with quality process, and then this data has some value which is being can be used for the research and for the industries and for all other purposes, research and education. Then the third component of this national data center is mainly activity is the supply of data to the users. So this data supply, now we are using this data supply portal since 2019. Prior to that, there was manual supply of data with there is everyone used to submit the form, and then the data is being extracted and then retrieved, and then it is to be supplied. So there was about sometimes a few weeks to few months, there was, depending on the data conditions and the availability, there was delay in the delivery of data. So in order to automate and the entire process, the data supply portal was launched at CRS of Office of CRS Pune, IMD Pune. And this package has been especially to enhance the efficiency and the transparency in this uh, process, reduce that delivery time, and to maintain the log of every action and related to the supply of meteorological data. Not only that, there are some data and then the data gaps are also there. So because sometimes the observations are not being keyed, and sometimes the observations are under quality process, so every data is not available for the supply. So for example, for say 1982, all months are available, but for a particular January month is not available. So the data which is being supplied, the one who is seeking the data will need to know, okay, how much data is available, if and how much, and sometimes the data is chargeable also. For the commercial activities, the data is being has a cost, and then as per the uh, guidelines or the rates being revised by the Ministry of Earth Sciences and the headquarter, the data is being uh, charged or for the supply. So everyone needs to know, okay, how much data is available and what kind of data is being available and supply. So data availability component has been also introduced in this second version of the data supply portal. This is the latest data supply portion. For we have this dashboard available on this link. If we click on this, I think we will get some dashboard. So we have just now received the two data requests which will be under process. There are under parties under communication 254 parties are we are waiting for the payment from the 254 or from other kind of authentication, at least for those who are eligible for the free data access. For them we need some kind of identification document. So as soon as they pay for it, within 6 hours we uh, supply the data now online. And similarly, the government earns the revenue by the supply of data, and then about 1 crore 21 lakhs till date uh, has been shared, has been earned. So these are the users. Normally, the orange color shows the about 500 users used to take the data from 2012 to 2018. We find the consistently in the range of 500. In 2019, they have increased to 4 times to 2045, because as soon as the launch of data supply portal has come. 2020 is still it is lower, but with the 8 months of corona conditions and the restrictions of the lockdown, still we used to we got the users accessing the about 1700 users. And then within the 2 months of 2021 till this 26 February, there are 451 users. So expected that this bar is going to cross in 2021 also, uh, higher than the 2019. So there will be consistently, we can say that the 2000 users are taking data from IMD for in a year nowadays, out of which about 503 till last year there were 538, and prior to that 631. So 1000 people are using this data for the research. For the from the commercial entities, we earn the government earns the revenue, and then by the sale of meteorological data. So at National Data Center, so at present it is about 1.2 crores, and in 2014 it has gone up to 1.6 also. Then we earning actually is not the main mandate of IMD, but the data should be available for the research and the scientific community. So that is the main intention of the data being shared. So most of the data being nowadays being shared by through the IMD Pune website. Also the graded data, graded rainfall and temperature data, all India data is being shared. The researchers can use and they visit IMD Pune website and download the graded data and use it for research. This revenue is earned from the commercial entities, and they need to pay for that. There are few projects being handled at National Data Center. Prior to that, old records which are in different manuscripts. So that is a data rescue project prior to 1939. 1939, there are few records of the observations at non-standard format. So they are being archived, and then they are being digitized at the different regional centers and Pune. Similarly, the autographic charts also, we have the continuous variation of the meteorological parameters, so of the thermograph, barograph, hygrograph, and the self-recording rain gauges also. They record the these meteorological parameters on continuous basis. So throughout the day, how's the variation, and throughout the month. So every day, these autographic charts are generated, and they are being keyed, then digitized. So and this digitization work of the autographic chart is slightly lagging, and then however we will be covering this very soon, and complete digitized autographic data will be available for the public for the uh, usage. uh, There's a one more portal and one more service portal is coming, and then the head CRS and the Ministry of Earth Sciences has very much keen on implementing this climate data service portal. There was very much quite delay in this portal, but now in 2019 it was 20 last year it was decided to develop in-house this climate data service portal. It has a component of and data acquisition, reception, then from all the sources the data should be available for dissemination, and then it should be also available for the climatologists and the forecasters. So this is the block diagram of the climate data service portal, where every services related to climatological data is being handled at one on at a single platform. So including metadata analysis, and then analysis also, and then different kinds of visualizations, raw data supplies. So everything is at the same place, and this portal is under development, and it is scheduled to be officially launched on the 23rd March, that is the World Meteorological Day, on 2021, and 2021, and the first version will be shared with some kind of climatological informations also, and the free access of to graded data, and temperature and rainfall data, then connection to the procurement with the advanced procurement of the data supply portal, through which we will be able to supply the data in few hours also. Other information about the observatories and their metadata, everything at one place. Let's come back to the data supply component. So this is the URL for which let me show you some mm, uh, methods how to access this data supply portal. Its URL is dsp.imdpune.gov.in. It is type wherever you type it in the browser, you will be able to come to this website, data supply portal. Here you can check the availability. Then the data needs to be the request form needs to be, we need to know what data you need, so and for what purpose, for research and other purpose. This data form needs to be submitted, data request form. And then data is required for the insurance claims also. And for insurance claims, the respective regional centers are authorized to send the data. So and um, because along with the data, the certificate is required. Similarly, as soon as the data is procured, you can check the status, and then here, and then for that you need to upload some kind of document about the identification. Like students need to upload their iCards. The faculty of universities, they need to submit their letter from their HOD or something. And then for government, just a government iCard is sufficient. For commercial entities, they need to provide this undertaking, what for this purpose, for what purpose they are using the data. And then this is a display of the dashboard. So from 1st April onwards, there will be new version of the, this is the third version of the data supply portal. And then uh, the fourth version is will be launched is very soon, and most probably from the 1st April onwards, uh, this will be in operational. For any kind of data, national data supply, there are telephone numbers 255 in Pune, and 255, any these are being attended on all working days throughout the day. And otherwise, the email are much better conveniently. That means we are in communication with the parties or users. So sometimes the people, users need to inquire first whether if somebody wants to work in for the station, like uh, station of Pune on a particular parameter. So they need to understand whether the data is available or not, or either they can check s- uh, the availability, and if now some parameters are not available. Similarly, like marine data also, if somebody wants to work in the Bay of Bengal area of particular sectors, so whether data is available or not, that is to be inquired. So it's better if all central information is obtained from the national, that is a central email, ndcsupply@imd.gov.in. So about this information and the development of the data process, there has been the article in the Indian Express newspaper on 26th December 2019. So, and rest of the things are can be email also. You can contact me on this email ID given. So let me greet you again for the National Science Day, and thank you for all. Stop sharing.